everyone, back tuning into today's video. Had a very interesting midnight run of the GFS model today, so we'll have a look at that in a moment. We'll also have a look at what's going on in the stratosphere. Of course, I've been talking about the stratospheric warming that's going to be taking place. It's starting now, so we're going to have a look and see how that's coming on as well today. Now, before I get on, I just want to mention the advertising. There'll usually be a video ad overlaying my web videos, GazMobivids.com. Please play those video ads. You'll be supporting GazMobivids.com by doing that. And I want to mention Gav Shop. You can get all your Amazon.co.uk New Year bargains from Gav Shop. Just click through the Amazon banner and go through to Amazon.co.uk. You'll be able to get your New Year bargains there, and thanks very much for doing that. So we're going to start off with the current temperature in the stratosphere. The grey line here shows the average stratospheric temperature over the North Pole at this time of the year. It should be cold, of course, and it has been cold. It's been very cold through much of November and December. I've had a cold stratosphere. It's just had that little spike in the stratosphere, but it wasn't a stratospheric warming, just a little slight warm up in the stratosphere at the start of December. But really, we've had a couple of months of really quite cold temperatures in the stratosphere. It got very cold in November, and December also has been quite cold. Well, now we see that we're just beginning to get a very slight uptick in the temperature in the stratosphere. That black line there just starting to push up. Here's January 2013, so just starting to push up, and what we're going to see over the next 2 or 3 days is that black line will spike up well above the grey line as this warming takes place in the stratosphere. So once we come back to this in a day or two's time, it really will be quite interesting to see just how far up that black line has spiked. It's going to spike a long way up this graph as the warming takes place in the stratosphere. So have a look at the website Meteosil. We can see how the stratospheric warming is forecast to develop over the next few days. This is the current position in the stratosphere over the Arctic. Very cold across much of the Arctic, but temperatures just starting to lift up a little bit, and the really warm air is pushed up over here across Asia. But over the next few days, we're going to find that warming taking place in the Arctic, in the stratosphere. So if we run out 2-3 days, we can see we've got some very dramatic warming going on now across many parts of the Arctic. These yellow and orange colours indicating the stratospheric temperature will be shooting up over the North Pole over the next few days, and we maintain that warming then as we go out in towards the 10th of January, beyond the 10th of January in towards the 11th and into the 12th of January. We maintain very warm temperatures in the stratosphere over the North Pole. Now, the effect of this is eventually this warming will start to propagate down through the stratosphere into the troposphere, and the troposphere is where areas of low pressure and high pressure develop, and really where weather takes place in the tropospheres. And the effect of the warming in the stratosphere is to start to increase blocking areas of high pressure through the troposphere. Now, where those blocks set up, that's the key question. How much, two questions really with this: how much of the warming propagates down through the stratosphere into the troposphere? That's the first key question. And then the second key question is, where does the blocking areas of high pressure set up once those once the warming has propagated down through the troposphere? Now, we see on the GFS ensembles that we started to get a big split taking place in the temperature ensembles over the next few days. At the moment, we're well above average, of course, with these temperatures. But these are upper air temperatures, but nevertheless, very good representation of what's going on the ground. Very warm temperatures at the moment. The red line here is where we should be at this time of year, and we see that all members of the ensemble are very warm. From around the 9th, though, we start to get a bit of a split, and we can see that as we go further on, more and more of these members of the ensemble indicated by one individual line here. One individual line indicates one member of the ensemble. We see more and more of these starting to dip down as we go through towards the middle part of the month, and beyond the middle of the month there's some very cold members of the ensemble beginning to appear. But equally, we keep a lot of members of the ensemble quite warm, in the warm category or the mild category. So the split is taking place, and that just indicates the uncertainty in the models as it's starting to process this stratospheric event. It's starting to calculate how this impacts the setup in the Northern Hemisphere. Is going to be something that does impact the weather not just in Britain and Europe, but across the whole of the Northern Hemisphere, really. So Molly's trying to come to grips with that, and obviously some of the members are going very cold, some are staying quite mild. In any case, it looks like we're going to be in for quite a dry spell going out towards the middle of the month. We get some rainful spikes there around the night, but really a lot of dry weather coming up over the next few days and the next week or so. So that's good news for anywhere flooded. So if you have a look at the generic chart from the GFS model this morning, this starts us off at Tuesday the 8th of January, and we see that we're basically still in the same sort of setup we've got at the moment. We've got high pressure over France. We're bringing in an Atlantic flow. It's quite mild, but we are seeing the polar vortex weakening up to the north around Greenland. The colours there beginning to turn more towards green and blue, just indicating that the polar vortex is starting to weaken. The polar vortex indicated by the purples, of course. Now beyond this, we start to get a build of pressure as we go through the second half of next week. This ridge of high pressure begins to take place as an area of high pressure also starting to build over the North Pole. That's in association with that stratospheric warming, but we've got an area of high pressure building over us, and that probably cools things off. Won't get desperately cold next week, I don't think, but it probably cools down, and we start to see more in the way of frost taking place. And as we go beyond this towards Friday the 11th, then we begin to see signs of high pressure starting to build towards Scandinavia. Now this is starting to get very speculative. This is a week away, Friday the 11th of January, so I wouldn't put too much credence on this, but certainly high pressure building somewhere around the British Isles later next week, and certainly cooling things off enough to produce frost and fog is the idea at the moment, I think, for next week. And then as we go beyond that, well, things really do start to get into the realm of speculation, but 10 days away we're still maintaining that high pressure over the top of British Isles, so more frosty, foggy, seasonable type weather. And notice we've started to bring very cold air down into northern Scandinavia, and beyond this we start to take that high pressure up towards Greenland. Beyond the middle of the month, we introduce very, very cold air down across not just the British Isles but the whole of Europe. Bitterly cold weather, lots of heavy snow with that high pressure setting up over Greenland. Now this is a long time out. This is Friday the 18th of January, 348 hours away. I really wouldn't put too much credence on this, but it's the sort of thing that can happen when you get a stratospheric warming. That's the point I'm trying to emphasise with this video, really. But when you get these stratospheric events, you will get blocking in the Arctic eventually, and where that blocking sets up is key. If it sets up anywhere around here, well, the midnight run of GFS is showing it to be around Greenland and Iceland, then we'll start to open the doors to very, very cold weather coming in from the north and the northeast. But we have to take that with a lot of caution, as the upper air temperature is just showing how cold it is by the 18th of January across many parts of Europe. The ECMWF is quite similar. As we go through next week, we start to get a bit of a build of pressure taking place over the British Isles. Not as much really as on the GFS, but nevertheless indications there that we're starting to build pressure to the north, and we start trying to reach pressure up from the south as well. So we probably end up 10 days away, Monday the 14th, with this area of high pressure over us. This is cooler. It will be turning cooler late next week, I think, and into next weekend. We'll see those temperatures easing down. Frosty, foggy weather likely to turn up. Whether it gets very cold, again, it's too early to say, really. Can't say. Because the key is where that blocking area of high pressure eventually sets up over the Arctic. GM Canadian, very similar, with the high pressure reaching over the country next week. It will be turning frosty and foggy, I think, through next week, and that's maintained into Monday the 14th, 10 days away. That high pressure is still there, sort of maintaining that frosty, foggy conditions, but it's not desperately cold. It's not severely cold, snowy weather. For that to happen, we have to take that high pressure up to Greenland, and at the moment there's no sign of that happening, really. on the ECM and BGM models. It's the GFS that's going for that idea, but at a long way out, over 10 days away, so can't take it too seriously. So the evidence is that the stratospheric warming is taking place. It will be taking place over the next 2 or 3 days. What effect it has in the end, we'll have to wait and see, but certainly the idea is that next week it'll start to turn quite a bit cooler later next week. Not cold, but cooler, with frost and fog and a more seasonable wintry type feel beginning to take place. And then whether it gets very cold wintry beyond that, too early to say. Well, that's it for now. Thanks for watching the video. I'll be doing the weekend forecast tomorrow, so thanks very much for tuning in, and that's it for now. Bye for now.